Hersheypark opened in 1906, got its first coaster in 1923, and over the last 100 years, they've grown into a top-tier coaster park in the US. They currently have 14 at the park, super well-rounded, offering something for everyone, but it doesn't mean they can't do better. Today, let's take all that chocolate money and make some changes. This is one way to improve every coaster at Hersheypark. First, I want to thank my Patreons and my two new members, Alex Kiddo and Mika Mariluoto. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. Some coasters have easy fixes, some are more challenging, and some are downright ridiculous. So I'm giving each one a possibility grade. We'll go from easy, it can be done today with no effort, to medium, it would take some effort and money, to hard, would take a pretty significant effort, to fantasy, things that are just not realistic. After you enter the park, there's only one coaster you see, Candemonium. This B&M Hyper opened in 2020, the park's second newest coaster, rising up 210 feet, going into a 5-second airtime hill which is absolutely amazing, turns around and goes into 2 more hills in an upward helix. It banks left and dives into a set of trim brakes, working its way around the Kisses fountain before hitting the final brakes. I love B&M Hypers, but this one is just okay. It's not because of its first half, that's amazing, it's that second half. It also suffers from being kinda short, 4,600 feet, so it can't afford a half filler track, and after that nice speed hill, the fun parts of the ride are pretty much over. The bank on that dive down kills the airtime, it hits a trim over the next hill, and then it just has a slow turn into the brakes. They pretty much did everything wrong to make the second half fun, but it does look pretty. I would say getting a better second half is the best fix, but I would settle for a longer out and back section. Add another hill going out and coming back. Give us more airtime, not less. I say this is hard. They're not going to add on to a B&M Hyper, but it wouldn't be impossible to give us more track. I just don't think there's any demand for it. Let's head into the park and go into the Hollow, the home of 4 coasters stacked on top of each other, and the first coaster you see is Comet, the oldest coaster in the park by a long shot, opening in 1946, 84 feet tall, a 78-foot drop, a T-shaped layout full of airtime hills, and if you get this running well, hot day, full train, it's a lot of fun. One of its best qualities was that buzz bar train, that lap bar coming down but never touching you, maximizing your chance of getting airtime. This ride doesn't have a ton, but you could feel everything it has. This year, those trains were replaced, and these look amazing. Great logo on the front, but for some reason, they put those nasty ratcheting lap bars on it. I don't know why, after almost 80 years, they took out one of the best features of the ride. Maybe some liability issue. Who knows, but their best change would be to get those buzz bars back. I put this as medium. It's not something they can do right now, but it wouldn't be a major effort. Heading deeper into the Hollow, we find Skyrush, and before this year, the slam dunk best change would be to get new lap bars, but they did that. Kudos to Hersheypark for making that happen. But the ride still isn't perfect. The wing seats have a major rattle. Not sure what they can do about that except get trains that only span 2 across. That would kill capacity and I don't want to do that, so I'm going to do something about that layout. This has a few sharp airtime hills and a bunch of filler track in between. I think Intamin was handcuffed by the plot of land. Like I said, the Hollow has a bunch of coasters stacked on top of each other, so when it came to Skyrush, they could only do so much. Some coasters like Twisted Colossus have one great element after another. This has one, big break, another one, big break. I would get rid of the filler track and give it a decent finale. It just meanders back to the station, mainly because that track is over a footpath. More airtime, less filler. This would be a major retrack and redesign, much more involved than Candemonium's, so this is just a fantasy. Skyrush just has limitations because of that footprint. Right next door, you have Super Duper Looper, one of the first looping coasters ever built, the revolution of the East Coast. This Miles Schwarzkopf having a vertical loop after a 75-foot drop, and just kinda hugs the hillside before it turns to the final brakes. Revolution is a mild ride, but this takes the tameness to a whole new level. Admittedly, this is great for kids trying to ride their first upside-down coaster, but it could use a little more bite. I think the only way to make this happen is to make it taller and give it more speed. This coaster is coming up on 50 years old. It serves a great purpose in the park. It's not meant to be a super intense airtime machine, so this clearly is a fantasy. Super Duper Looper is what it is. Heading up the hill to Great Bear, the B&M Invert. This has a super weird layout, thanks to, once again, the Hollow. It goes up 90 feet, starts with a helix off the lift, diving down 124 feet into a narrow out and back section, ending over a creek. A great final corkscrew, and then the ride's pretty much over. Only 2,800 feet of track, which is very short. And thanks to having to rise back up the hill to the station, its finale is pretty bad. That's what I would change. Just give it one more inversion, maybe a slow roll like Banshee has. I'm gonna put this as hard. A major retrack on that finale would be a fantasy, but if they just added one more roll, that would go a long way to make the ride better, giving it that 5th inversion, and it wouldn't be that radical of a change to its layout. Heading down the hill to the center of the park, we run into Trailblazer, the second oldest coaster in the park, and this is a very short and slow aero mine train. It doesn't have a lot going for it, its signature element being that big helix finale. There isn't much that can be done about this coaster, and that's fine. It's a family-friendly mine train that just turned 50 this year, so let's give it a simple fix. Just turn off that mid-course brake run. This comes right before that helix finale, and if it had some more speed going into it, it could pack a little more punch. This would be an easy fix, just turn it off. Next door, we have Stormrunner, the Intamin Accelerator. This goes from 0 to 72 in 2 seconds. One of the most elite launches in the world, up and over a 180-foot top hat. And then we got 3 inversions, including a flying snake dive. It's kind of a short ride, 2,600 feet, winding back to the station after whipping you around. Before a coaster like this, you're happy this actually has a real layout after that launch and top hat. That isn't always the case. This opened with those hard, Intamin over-the-shoulder harnesses, and luckily, those got converted to soft straps. Still, my best change would be to replace the over-the-shoulder restraint with those new Skyrush lap bars. We know they can go upside down, we see this on Velocicoaster, and having more freedom and more airtime over that top hat would be awesome. I gotta imagine they could retrofit their existing trains with these new lap bars, not having to get all new trains, so I'm putting this as a medium change. It would cost money, but it wouldn't be a major effort. Right across the path is Jolly Rancher Remix, the Vekoma boomerang that came to the park in 1991, and over the years, this has gotten a bunch of positive changes. New vest restraints, a total retheme to Jolly Ranchers, including a repaint, lights, effects. Just a really cool boomerang experience, the best in the US by far. So, how could they make it even better? I think they could enclose the first lift hill. Look at what Wallaby Holland did for speed of sound. Imagine a Jolly Rancher party, all those cool lights, in a dark enclosed tunnel, all the anticipation of that lift hill and the pending drop. That's where Hersheypark could have gone above and beyond. This is a medium change, definitely an effort, but not a crazy idea. Walking down to the back of the park, you pass Fahrenheit, the Intamin Looper. This is a very rare model. You don't see many, if any, of these out there. Just one other like this in China. A vertical lift at 121 feet, 97-degree drop. 2,700 feet isn't too long, but this feels like a full complete ride. 6 inversions, ejector airtime. This also had hard over-the-shoulder restraints and got replaced by soft straps. Would this benefit from lap bars? Sure, but I have a better fix, and that's to make it smoother. It's not too bad, but when I rode this in 2023, I noticed a few spots where it put me in the paint mixer. Not unusual for an Intamin this age. And if Hersheypark could address those moments, that would be amazing, and let this ride stand out for the intense, whippy airtime machine it is. I say, this is a medium change. It wouldn't be a major retrack, just a targeted effort. Now, we pass by the park's newest coaster, Wildcats Revenge, the RMC conversion of Wildcat, and for my money, the best coaster in the park by a long shot. Ever since I first rode this in 2023, I said this was a mid-tier RMC, and that still puts it in my top 30. 140 feet tall, 3,500 feet of track, 4 inversions, an awesome ride full of airtime, butter smooth. But like I said, a mid-tier RMC, so let's make it better. There are 2 hills that are very awkward and kind of a buzzkill. One of them comes after this wave turn, the midpoint of the ride, rising up, but instead of diving down, it jerks to the left, leading into its 2 final inversions, one great hill, rising up once more, and jerking to the right into the final breaks. Wildcats Revenge would be so much better if it completed those 2 hills. Rise up and dive down, don't rise up and jerk you to the side. This is a borderline fantasy, but since it's just 2 hills, I'll put it as hard. Not gonna happen, but wouldn't be a complete overhaul of its layout. Across the path, you have Wild Mouse, the Mock Rides Wild Mouse from 1999. Very standard, not very exciting, and a lot of people think the best change would be to tear it down. You might get your wish, but I'm here to fix every coaster, and I think the best change for Wild Mouse is to give it spinning cars. This layout, turn off the trims, let the cars spin freely. It would be absolutely insane. I put this as hard. Mock Rides make spinning coasters, but not spinning mouse coasters. This isn't Zamperla, they're known for their spinning mice, so it would take development, and this was not designed for spinning cars, but that doesn't mean it can't handle it. Heading deeper into the back of the park, we have Laugh Track, the Mauer spinner inside a giant box. This is well themed to a funhouse, totally dark inside, neon effects, such a cool experience. But if you've been to Hersheypark, you know this is by far the worst line in the park. The capacity on this is terrible, 7 cars and 4 riders per car. There's not much you can do to get that line to speed up. I say, let's try one anyway. Let's give this a dual station. This would double your load time. You can deploy the next train as soon as the first one clears the lift. This would maximize capacity and make the line less terrible. That's really my only complaint of the ride. It's smooth, it's fun, it's well themed, it has a nice queue. I just want to spend less time in it. This is a total fantasy. I don't think any Maurer spinner has a dual station, and it would be a major overhaul. All the way behind the water park, you have Lightning Racer, the dueling GCI wooden coaster. This has a lot going for it. It's pretty smooth. At least it was before this year. It does a good job racing, keeping the train synced up, cresting hills together, crossing paths at the exact right time, and hitting that finish line within seconds of each other. My biggest problem with Lightning Racer has always been its forces. It just doesn't have any. To make this better, I think they need to either reprofile those hills to make them shorter, or they need to extend the section when you first pull out the station, make it go out further, start the lift sooner, make it taller, and give the ride more speed so you can actually get some good airtime. This is a fantasy. I think the park is happy with the way the coaster runs. It races very successfully, and that's a win in their book. And only the hardest core enthusiasts complain about the ride's forces, and they don't care about us, nor should they. As you're heading out of the park, you pass by one coaster you forgot to ride, Coco Cruiser, the Zamperla gravity coaster for kids. This is the most basic of kids coasters. A lift, a twisted drop, a helix, a turn back to the station. If I were to make one improvement, it would be to give it bigger seats. I always look back to SpongeBob's Boating School Blast at SeaWorld Australia. These seats are actually somewhat roomy, and this coaster is identical. It's a medium change, and it would help a lot. Some people want to ride these coasters with their kids, and offering bigger seats would allow more people to do so. So, just to recap, we have 14 coasters, and 5 of them have medium changes. Hard and Fantasy come in second place with 4 apiece, and only one coaster has an easy fix, that being Trailblazer and its mid-course brake run. So, Hersheypark needs to open up that wallet and get spending to make this coaster collection even better than it already is. That's a wrap on this video. Let me know what you think about my solutions, what you would do different for any of these rides, and if you have anything else to add, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. If you want to see more episodes in this series, I have a playlist, that link's down below. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.